Hey Screamers, welcome to our 7th review. This time we take on Markoff's Haunted Forest. About a 4.5-hour drive from home, we find this 3-attraction haunt in Dickerson, Maryland. Over the last 3 years, we have received numerous messages and emails requesting that we visit Markoff's Haunted Forest. You guys have deemed it as one of the most scariest attractions in Maryland. Finally, 3 years in, we have finally made it, and we can agree with you that Markoff's Haunted Forest is definitely Maryland's scariest haunted attraction. Markoff's is a non-profit organization, meaning that all the proceeds made from the haunted attraction itself are donated and used for Kaleva.org. This organization educates the community on sustainable farming and also practices sustainable farming themselves, hosting many dinners and events throughout the year. Kaleva is Markoff's main focus. Well, Kaleva is their focus throughout the entire year. However, during the month of October, Markoff's main focus is to scare the crap out of you. Taking in the sights and sounds of the main waiting area, which had been themed after the Day of the Dead, there were multicolored lights, Spanish Tudor buildings, concessions, games, bonfires, and even zip line. It was a really cool atmosphere, and what we had found out is that this main waiting area each year is re-themed into a new theme, kind of to keep it fresh and new for those who return every year and make this a yearly tradition. After soaking it all in, it was time to begin the night with one of the wooded trails. There's two at Markoff's, the Woods and the Hollow. Both start at the same exact spot in the beginning and then end at the same exact spot at the end. However, in between, they meet up and cross paths. This was one of the most unique attractions I have ever experienced. I don't think in the 7 years I've been running FrightTour that I've ever witnessed an attraction where two start and end at the same spot, however meet up at different locations and actually use specific sets together as a haunt. It was pretty cool. The attractions themselves were different, however they were pretty much exactly the same, just took on different themes. Now, speaking of the attractions, both the Woods and the Hollow were absolutely terrifying. I have never experienced a wooded trail like I have with the Hollow and the Woods. Both were beautiful, and it's not a word that I like using with haunted attractions, but they were. The sets were absolutely exquisite. They were so professionally done. They were on such a large scale. We went through a church twice. First time we went underneath of it. The second time we went through the attraction, we went in through the church. At the end, we met up through a dollhouse. We went through a Viking ship, through a graveyard of dragon bones. We went through a Viking village. We went through this awesome kind of whimsical pumpkin patch. This was one of the most jaw-dropping experiences I've ever had. And plus, it was scary. For the first time, guys, I actually jumped and screamed from a chainsaw. I know, you could be saying, what the heck is wrong with me? Was I sick? No, this guy actually was talented in using his chainsaw. He started up exactly at the right moment, scaring the crap out of me. It was awesome. There were a lot of actors throughout each attraction, and what was cool was the actors, I think, had the ability to kind of use the paths as a way to connect from attraction to attraction, so they could scare you, and then they could go scare another group in the Hollow or vice versa. It was really, really cool. So for me, this attraction was by far one of the most awesome attractions, scariest attractions, best attractions I have ever went through. There was one point where we actually got up on this hill, and I stopped because I just had to, and it overlooked the entire woods, and you could see, like, the silhouettes of the trees, you could see all the lights, you could see some of the sets, and then you could hear the sounds of screams, the bangs, the laughter. I looked back at Joe and I said, this is where I want to plot my tent, and this is where I want to live for the rest of my life. Just up on this little hill, in these woods, right next to this church. I just want to see everything and experience everything every single night. It's like the epitome of a Halloween world for me, if there is such a place. I was in love with this attraction. I couldn't get enough of it. At the end of it, you met up in this like junkyard where we were walking on top of cars. The other attraction was walking below us through things. If I seem like I'm rambling, I'm having a really hard time with this review because I don't have one negative thing to say about this review. This place was just jaw-dropping. After the first attraction, I could not believe what we had just experienced, and I said to myself, wait a minute, we have two more? It was just unbelievable. I cannot believe the scale and the design and the layout and the way the actors were inside both of these haunted wooded trails. Now, haunted wooded trails are hard to pull off. They're kind of like a hayride for me because you're outdoors, you know, you're using the woods as kind of like a layout, but this was like so perfectly done. Like they had these like very dim lights that led the path, and then they had like major sets like the church and the Viking ship and all of that good stuff that they had throughout. So it was like, okay, you're in a wooded trail, but it's like, okay, this is like a wooded trail on crack because you have all of these crazy sets and these talented actors. It was so scary at specific parts. Oh, We actually went through an alien craft. I mean, yeah, they had an alien craft set up through there too. So you had the church, which I keep mentioning, you had the Viking ship, you had the alien, you had the Viking village, you had the graveyard of dragon bones, you had the dollhouse, you had the wreck yard with all the cars and buses. It was absolutely awesome. So if it seems a little confusing, what I was talking about were the woods and the hollow. Both separate attractions, but both use the same woods and both cross paths and use the same starting position and the same ending position. So I don't want to get anyone confused before we move on to the town, but the town is next. And the town was absolutely scary. Usually I do some research about places that we go to before we go, meaning that like I look at their Facebook page, I look at their web page, I read some reviews, I read the many emails that I get from people about the place. Many of you did email about Markoff's and said that it was a great place to pick and that we were going to have a lot of fun, and you definitely weren't wrong. However, the town for me, I didn't know much about. So, considering that it was on the opposite side of the farm, you had to take a tram to get there, and the woods and the hollow were already pretty extreme, I was like, what am I getting myself into? What is this town they're talking about? We got in line, we waited for our tram, the tram loaded up, we began our ride, the tractor lights go out, we're driving through the woods across the farm. It is so dark that the tractor driver, I'm sure, had night vision goggles because I couldn't see 5 inches from my face. But we finally make it to the town, and there's 2 people waiting for us, and the entrance is into a cornfield. So for me, I was like, okay, this is not the town, obviously. This is just the cornfield, because why would they name the cornfield a town? But we went through the cornfield, and I have to say, bravo to Markoff's for using the corn the correct way. People actually hiding in the corn and jumping out of it. It was awesome. I got scared numerous times. And then finally after the corn, we made it to our next stop. So it was kind of like they had 4 attractions. They had the woods, the hollow, this little corn section, and then the town itself. The town took on a Western-style themed town with the saloon, banks, you know, different buildings like a chop shop. It was cool to look at from the outside as we waited to go in. Once inside, though, I never thought that I would be afraid of a Western theme, but I was. It was absolutely terrifying. You walked through, you could hear the bangs in the next building. Like, I'm not lying to you, there were like separate buildings set up, like an actual town. That's the way this set up, and like you would enter a building, experience what was in that building, and then kind of like cross like a little alleyway and go into another building. They built like a full-blown town on the opposite side of this farm. It was absolutely amazing and scary. There was one part where I had like a dull knife put up against my neck and I was tackled. That was really, really cool. There were some really intense scares inside where I actually ducked and screamed really loud, and Joe, of course, was laughing hysterically at me. But I personally loved this experience. I thought that this was so ingenious because it takes something to me that's so kind of like outdated and puts like a breath of fresh air into it. The fact that it was so perfectly done with like no harsh lighting, everything was like really dim, there was rolling fog, they followed the theme, you know, throughout the entire attraction where you're walking through a Western town. It was just awesome. I loved everything about it. I think I screamed like at least a dozen times inside. I found it to be awesome. Definitely, I would finish with the town because to me, the town, the anticipation that builds as you're taking the tram across the farm to the town itself, it kind of builds the mood for you. And then when you get there, they are so good and so talented, the actors inside the town, at being, you know, the Western themed type people. It was so, so cool. I loved everything about it. In fact, I loved everything about this place. I wish I could live on the farm, like live in one of the saloon buildings. Just put me in one of the Western buildings. I'll stay there. I'll even pay rent. I'll, you know, sit and just watch everyone get scared that walks by. It was such an awesome time at Markoff's. Overall, Markoff's Haunted Forest was a damn good time. I don't think there is one thing that I can say I would alter, change, or even give a negative critique about. Everything from the front entrance, themed after the Day of the Dead, to the woods, to the hollow, to the town, everything was spot on perfect. Everything was scary, terrifying. Definitely worth a 4-hour drive. So if you're 4 hours away, get yourself in your car, drive to Dickerson, Maryland, buy a ticket for Markoff's Haunted Forest, which, by the way, benefits Kaleva.org. You can check it out on their website, and get yourself into these attractions, because these attractions are unlike any other attraction out there. The sets, the design, the layout, how scary they are. You could hear screams from every which angle while you were there, except the town, because, again, it is on the opposite side of the forest. But I recommend it to anyone and everyone looking for the best scream in the area. I think, and without a doubt, Markoff's, out of the 3 Maryland attractions we have been to this year, Markoff's Haunted Forest is by far the scariest Maryland haunted attraction we have ever experienced. I hope and pray that everyone that is watching this review concurs with me on Markoff's Haunted Forest. We hope to see your comments, your reviews, your statements about what you experienced, what you think I have said about the place. Please remember to like, share, comment, and repost this video as much as you time, because Markoff's needs the attention. They're a great attraction. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter via our website. Until next time, happy screaming.